Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I'm your host, Kevin Wallace, and before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about our sponsor, Streetside Brewery, a lovely, lovely Cincinnati brewery that has been with us all season. Located on the east side of Cincinnati in the Columbia-Tusculum neighborhood, this is one of my favorite places to watch an FCC away game, to just have a nice drink with friends. It is such a relaxed environment there, and I love the little neighborhood that it is nestled in. Streetside is an awesome, awesome brewery, and I'm so happy to have them along as a partner. Now, they do have regular events, and I am excited to tell you that coming up this next weekend, they have a Champions League watch party. You can check that out. That's June 1st, 3 p.m., Dortmund versus Real Madrid. That's going to be a fun one. You can check that one out. They also, on Sunday, they've got karaoke with Pascal Karaoke. That is from 6 to 8 p.m. again on Sunday. And then also on Monday, June 3rd, they always have a rotating food truck out there. This time it is taco this, taco that, starting on June 3rd. So it's a fun weekend lined up for Streetside. And again, just so happy to have them along for the journey here. Check them out at 4003 Eastern Avenue. That is in the Columbia-Tusculum neighborhood again, or just buy a sixer the next time you find them in your local beer fridge. And on this episode, we are talking about that wild, wacky, thrilling, exciting match between FC Cincinnati and Toronto FC. This was a fun one, 4-3. Been a while since you've seen an FC Cincinnati team score 4 goals, huh? Own goals, penalties, anything and everything you can imagine being dramatic in this one. This match had it. And then in part 2, we preview, because boy, there is a quick turnaround here, the Wednesday weekday matchup versus Nashville SC as they come to town. Look, this is a fun episode. Always lovely talking about a win. Had a couple of those in a row now. Put it all together, you got yourselves a nice little postcast. Joining me to talk about all of that and more, I'm joined by 2 gentlemen on a lovely, a little stormy Memorial Day weekend. Joined by the Chief, joined by Grayson. Grayson, how do you celebrate this nation's Memorial Day?
Me?
There's no other Grayson on this podcast.
Sorry, I was watching the recap of the game. And it just got to the point where I was getting to see Victor Rivas wait for the advantage on that Santos penalty, and Orishano scores. So I was straight up not listening. How did I listen to it? How did I enjoy the Memorial Day? I had a nice day.
Nice.
Went to the store, bought some fruit for a Memorial Day get together that I was attending. I made which I was having some more of when we were getting to record.
Ooh.
I made watermelon with feta and mint.
Delicious.
Which is my favorite way to make watermelon for a party, because it looks like you did something, but it takes 30 seconds more than cutting up a watermelon.
Work smarter, not harder. I dig that.
It's one of those dishes that is inherently bougie, but incredibly simple and so good. So worth it.
Yeah, there's an art to figuring out exactly what to bring to a cookout that says I care, but also doesn't say I care too much. And
yes,
threading that needle is vital as well. Because the other thing too is you don't want to be the person who is known as the person who brings the dish to the cookout that no one eats. It's painfully aware when you show up and your potato salad is the last thing that just is sitting there that no one has touched. It's you're not pulling weight at this gathering, we'll say.
Yeah.
Feta makes everything better though. Feta is a life hack for any number of dishes that you might want to try.
So the funny thing about this get together, was 3 different people brought watermelon. Okay.
Good.
But everybody brought different watermelon, right? Which is like also like why like you throw in the feta and the mint. If somebody else brings watermelon, unless they brought it with feta and mint, you brought a different thing.
You brought the savory salad. You brought the savory watermelon.
So like somebody else had one with just mint, which lazy.
Right.
Yeah.
You were so close though.
Yeah, and some folks brought it with the tagine, which like delicious for sure. But so then there's like, you know, those are 3 different dishes.
Just mint is what you do when the feta dish runs out.
I find that my preferred way to enjoy watermelon is blending it and adding tequila. So
also we bought the nice feta.
Oh, good.
So
not the Kroger feta.
Well, we bought it from Kroger, but we bought the nice.
You bought the one with the green lid that pops up and it's got the Greek writing on it.
That's the good feta. That's the cheaper feta.
No, that's my kind of feta.
We bought the step up from that.
Ooh, my kind of party. There you go.
So it's like $9 instead of $4.
You know, my favorite part of all this too is that you eat this fancy watermelon with feta and mint, and they're still throwing Conn's hot dogs on the grill.
Oh no.
No, they weren't. Oh, not that kind of party.
They were all beef hot dogs from Avril's.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Treated nicely.
What I like about that is that when you say it's an all beef hot dog from Avril's, it's a nice way of saying, no. My pig anus is fancy.
These are the good scraps.
Cow anus, I'm sorry.
They had to be kosher.
So fair enough.
As you go.
Wow. Chief, what's the music at the Memorial Day cookout?
All 90s rap.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, or it's a very specific time period. It's rap between the years of like 1996 to 2004. And then nothing more recent, nothing any earlier.
Chief, I
Party
think
will be going all day.
I think you would have really enjoyed this. I don't know if you've been paying attention to Apple Music has been releasing their top 100 albums of all time list, which was just finalized this past week. But your friend, one 50 Cent.
Yeah.
Get Rich or Die Trying came in at number 82.
That's high.
Astonishingly high.
That should be
2 spots higher than Doggy Style. Think about that one for a second.
Yeah. Dude, it's banger after banger. I will go to my grave believing that Get Rich or Die Trying is on the Mount Rushmore of rap albums overall. Like every song is a banger on that album. So good. You know, when you say what's the playlist at the party we're talking about here, it might just be Get Rich or Die Trying. We might just throw that on.
Just that one. There you go.
Nothing makes this is the unofficial kickoff to summer. Nothing makes a summer party pop like when you're listening to the rap music that has the police sirens in the background. That really lets you know you're at an event where anything can happen.
That immediately gets kicked off of any playlist I may have, just for driving purposes.
Oh, it's the best.
Always gets me. It has to be like European rap, so it's just like a different siren, so I'm not fooled.
I think, didn't Jonah used to do that on his podcast every so often? Yes. Just add police sirens in the background to make you think that there was a cop behind you. Just auditory psyops with his listeners.
So mean.
That's like when you're watching there's like a certain subgenre of like TikTok or Instagram reel videos where they will add the AirPods battery dying sound in the background just to fuck with you.
No, that's so good.
I get so mad when like a podcast or something just like starts talking about Alexa.
Oh, yeah. Alexa, like if it were to say like, "Hey Siri, turn off the bedroom lights," like that would be really annoying for a certain.
Right. If it said, "Hey Alexa, play Mr. Brightside," that would, why would anyone do that?
Alexa, play The Hurtin' Kind by Orville Peck and Midlands.
I don't know how much it would cost to get us an Alexa plug-in to be able to get it to just start playing the postcast, but we should explore this.
Yeah. I think my Alexa just turned on.
I'm pretty sure I turned off the bedroom lights on my wife, saying what I said before. So this is good.
I don't have devices that listen to me. I want to be spied on by my car and my phone only.
I like to put as many microphones around my house as possible.
That's podcasting 101. You always got, if you have a microphone near you, all your takes can be recorded for posterity.
There is something hilarious about somebody who may record their thoughts for hours at a time, being worried that somebody might be spying on them. Like, man, we got it.
There's a very interesting alternate history if Richard Nixon is more concerned about this phenomenon.
Didn't he set up the recording device? Okay.
Sure did.
Just stepping in your own bear trap.
Yeah, he was an interesting man of many contradictions.
God bless him. Yeah, God bless Richard Nixon. Happy Memorial Day, everybody.
Happy Memorial Day. God bless Richard Nixon. This is the kind of quality content you come to the postcast for.
As Stephen Colbert once said, the last liberal president, Richard Nixon. And I don't think he was being satirical when he said that. So it's good.
My man founded the EPA. Signed
Ended the
Title
Vietnam
IX.
War.
Yeah, ended the Vietnam War. Open trade relations with China.
I cannot think of somebody more liberal.
You know. Many people are saying.
Oh,
but you know
God.
who really are? You know who are liberal? Canadians.
It's true.
Just giving away goals left and right.
Oh, God, that is so true. Man, they could have used Matt Miazga's generosity, I'll say, this weekend. But boy, it's been a while since I had this thought waking up this morning. Of course, this was the first thought I had in the morning, which is it's nice to have the drama of FC Cincinnati be on the field and not off of the field. It feels like it's been a while since we've had a truly dramatic game that outshined any drama that might exist off of the field.
You had a better morning than I did. My first thought waking up was, God, I had a few too many last night after that game. That was a game where there are certain sporting events and certain games, even when you watch them on TV, where if you're watching them with someone and you're getting together with people to watch a game, the immediate reaction afterwards is, well, I can't go home after that.
Right.
Like, it can be bad, where it's like, I gotta go do a shot or something like that. Or it's, well, that was enthralling. We need to have a few more to celebrate and just sort of come down off whatever the high we are of what we just watched. And it turned into that kind of night for your boy last night because, all right, I'm going to offer a controversial take here.
Please.
It's what I do on this show.
I was going to say the Chief? No.
Yeah, surely you jest. I hate games like this when my team is playing. My optimal game for a team that I root for is a 10-0 win.
Sure.
Where there's no drama and we're just seeing if everybody can get a goal on the field. We're just seeing who's next. We're seeing what little tricks Lucho can do. I don't like sweating out shootouts. I don't like exciting. When my team is playing, I want the opposite of exciting. I want boring, dull affairs that end in 3 points. If I'm watching a game with two other teams I don't care about, sure, bring on the nonsense. Bring on the MLS chicanery. My teams, I hated every minute of that last night.
Yeah, so I would say if it's going to be exciting, I'm glad my team comes out on top.
Right.
But I was not thinking at any point in the game last night, oh, this is exciting. I was thinking can we just fucking not?
For the love of Christ, just take the lead and sit on the ball. Don't do any more of this nonsense.
I had the time of my life. I love this.
Oh, that's awful. I only like games like this if I know in hindsight we won. Like I watched this game back this afternoon, nursing a hangover, and it was great. It's a great watch back, knowing that we win. Not knowing while you're watching it was all miserable. The entire second half was miserable for this game.
So here's a thought for you. if the MLS regular season is useless and pointless, as many people tried to argue, then if nothing else, these games are training exercises and, an opportunity to run through scenarios, right? Try out some scenarios. This was a good scenario run for FC Cincinnati. One, to go down early. That was good, or to fall behind. And then we've asked ourselves many times on this podcast, we asked ourselves on this, I think the last time we got together, can this team win in a shootout? And if we expect Inter Miami to be able to, come out guns blazing, if we expect some of these other teams, the Columbus Crew amongst them, to be able to come out guns blazing on the road, hostile environment, large stadium, I want to see what FCC looks like in that scenario and pass the test, baby. Bring it on. This is good.
So we've definitely asked the question, like, can FC Cincinnati win a game if they have to score 3 or 4 goals to win?
Yeah.
My next question is, can they win a game 5-1?
Yeah.
Okay.
We just put a team away. I've gotten my dose of drama for the near
I've learned
future.
my lesson about asking about what questions to ask. My next question is, can they win every game the rest of the season 3-5 to 1 or nothing?
That's a good question. And frankly, one that has not been answered in the affirmative since San Jose 2022.
Yeah.
The home game there where we won 6-0.
They beat DC 5-2. We beat DC 5-2 that year as well.
Yeah. And the DC note is an interesting one. I thank Matt Doyle for flagging this in his latest column. FC Cincinnati won the Supporter Shield last year, a very dominant team, a very good team, never scored more than 3 goals in 2023, which is insane. The last time FC Cincinnati had scored more than 3 goals was that DC United 5-2 win that included a Brenner hat trick, if you remember when he was trying for this team. And felt pretty cool to get 4 goals on a team. Been a while since we've seen that.
Yeah. Cool. Let's never do it that way again. So yeah. Okay. So that's sort of like, we always, I think, try to start this before we go into like the lineups, everything, with like a top line takeaway. And so that was my top line takeaway from this, is that this was a type of match they have struggled to win in the entire history of this team.
Yeah.
They've been on the wrong end of a lot of these. A lot of these in Canada. This resembles the old Montreal games they used to play when Nancy was coaching up there, where they were 4-3 affairs.
Opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won.
Yeah. Just sheer nonsense, goals everywhere. And just, it was like the old football thing, last team with the ball wins, like that kind of a game. So my top line takeaway from this game is that they needed to show that they had this in them. And I think more importantly than showing them they had this in them, they needed to show they could do this if Lucho was just having a normal night.
Huge point.
And last night, Lucho was good, but by Lucho standards, it was very average. It wasn't his best night. Toronto made a point in the build-up to this game of saying, we're going to deny Lucho. We're going to make denying Lucho our thing. And when you saw, every time he got the ball, there were 2 people, 3 people collapsing in on him. They were marking him with multiple people. And if a team's going to try that strategy, there have to be other people that step up to make the opposing team pay. And I think we saw that happen in this game from some sources where, frankly, it portends really good things in the future if players like Orishano and Kelsey are the ones that can step up in these situations. Those are that's the young firepower that you were hoping to emerge over the course of the year. They're way ahead of schedule based on what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah. The Lucho point in particular, old Joseph Mame had my favorite tweet of halftime, which was hopefully they bring on Lucho for the second half. I always love that genre of tweet. Always cracks me up.
Where's he been?
But yeah, the core of this team looks great. Like, this is awesome.
They were dangerous they were dangerous in the first half. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
Like there were moments dangerous in the first half.
They were danger-ish, not dangerous.
But my like top line takeaway from the game is like there's a cliche that's like you need to learn how to win.
Yeah.
But like it's true in the sense, and I think Kevin touched on this, that like you need to figure out when you're presented with various difficulties how to work your way out of it. And I think this team under Pat Noonan for the first couple of years saw some scenarios that were similar to what happened last night, and they didn't come out of those games winning. You know, like you're talking about the Montreal games against Nancy. There were 2 4-4 tie games in 2022. Yep. You know, they didn't score 4 goals in all of 2023. And you know, this was a team that I think this starts at the coaching level, because they made the decision in the first half after going down 1-0 to switch Orishano and Halsey.
Yeah.
At the wingback positions. And they also switched Dotto and Kelsey, I think, before that. But so they found solutions to a game where they were on the road and started down. And they didn't trail after that, right? Because they equalized at 1-1, went up 2-1, and then every time Toronto scored, they answered.
Yep.
And I put out on Twitter, this was the first game that they've won in MLS, in their MLS era, where the other team scored 3 goals.
Crazy.
And I know it's like probably not usual to win when the other team scores 3 goals.
Right.
But like they've had a lot of situations where they've matched the other team in a shootout, but they've not won a shootout.
Yeah.
And it's good to see them able to make the adjustments and the in-game decisions to come out on top in one of these. And you know, like the close game thing is one thing, but also like winning a game like this is like, yeah, this might be the type of game you have to win if you want to be a knockout tournament champion team.
Yeah.
Right. The one goal win thing, I don't put a lot of stock into that, just because they're winning a lot of different types of 1-goal games. And it's not just, they're not just grinding out 1-0 wins or 2-1 wins. You know, they've shown a lot of different, you know, tactics, the different types of games they have to win. And it's like, yeah, this goes down as another 1-goal win, but this is light years different the way they had to play in this game than they would have had to play in a 1-0 win or a 2-1 win. It's just
like Colorado was like a 1-goal win, right?
Yeah, these
games are not the same.
No,
not quite,
not remotely.
Now,
the other thing too that was interesting about this as well. I forget who said it in the Discord, but like as I'm watching this game, I'm on the post.
Colorado
Discord.
was 2-1.
It was a 1-goal win, but that felt like a 1-goal win. That was very 1-goaly. This did not feel like a 1-goal win. So join the post Discord, link in the description of this episode. Somebody said like this was Toronto's Super Bowl, this game. Like this was the biggest game of their season. And it's like, yeah, this is a game where FC Cincinnati walked into somebody else's building where that team feels like they're in ascendancy, they're developing, they're ahead of schedule. And this was a litmus test for them too. They packed the building. They were clearly up for this game. They came in with a plan to try and punch this team in the mouth. And yeah, this is another type of situation. That's a hostile situation on the road with a team that's, you know, apparently thinks highly of itself, giving you its best punch. And that's another type of game you've got to learn how to win. And they won it.
And yeah, you had Herdman talking about Lucho rules, you know, and you had Toronto players like talking about what their specific tactics were going to be for this game. I mean, Toronto was talking about this game like they were going to make a statement.
Yes.
You know,
It was a cup final or something.
which is, you know, like I gotta say, like, you know, all credit for Toronto, right? Like they made it a game, and they looked really, really good, all things considered. But it's very funny that like Toronto is like our measuring stick is Cincinnati.
Right. My, how the turntables.
What happened?
Yeah, 2019, this could not have been more different. I was thinking about the one goal thing because in my mind, isn't almost every soccer game decided by one goal? In my mind, is one of the dumbest things.
We do have like since 22, like
Oh, yes. So that's what I was going to bring up. I've got this from Laurel Thaler. This is from FCC's game notes, but she's the one who tweeted it.
I'd like to thank all the
it.
fans that noticed this in the game notes.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes we accidentally do useful things here. From the game notes, FC Cincinnati is 23-4 since the start of the 2023 season in games decided by one goal. That's 23 wins. And the next closest win total over that span is 12, held by Orlando City. That feels insane. I don't know what to make of this. Like, I'm going back to what I said the previous post game, which is like, this team is the ultimate in knowing when it has to try, is all I've decided. And this game is kind of evidence of that too, which was, every time they needed a goal, they went out and got the goal. They got the lead, and that was what you were going to get. This is a weird team, man. I love it.
You ever seen The Incredibles, the movie? Pixar?
Oh, yeah.
Classic. The scene at the end where the kid Dash is running in a race at his school, and his parents like, go fast, but not too fast. Go fast. And like at any point, he can just choose to win.
Yes.
That's kind of FC Cincinnati's offense, where they can look like they're never going to break a high press again. And then all of a sudden it's like 3 passes are in the back of the net. And you're like, what the hell just happened right there? And then
even like Lucho, right? When Lucho has I don't want to be too hard on him for the game, but like when Lucho has a game where people are asking questions, or people are saying like, you know, oh, he's not been as influential as he typically is. Well, like, all it takes is him getting the ball and like finding a couple of like special dribbles, and then now we've just won the game. like it's he's capable of doing something special at any given time. So like, yeah, if he doesn't have like the best game ever, as long as the team keeps it close,
right? He just needs the best five. He's the best 5 minutes is all he needs,
or 5 seconds. Like he really only needs like collectively like 12 seconds, and FC gets like 3 goals.
There was a lineup. It did not stay this way past Toronto's initial goal, but I will read it off to you as I have it up here on the screen. Roman Celentano in goal, Ian Murphy, Matt Miazga, Miles Robinson from left to right, Luca Orishano on the left wing back, Brett Halsey is the right wing back, noting that for later, Wobodo, Buka, Acosta as that midfield trio with the dueling 19-year-olds up top, Kevin Kelsey, Dado Valenzuela. Chief, Kubo was hurt in this one. DeAndre Yedlin was back in training, but not in the starting lineup. What were your thoughts?
I was surprised Yedlin didn't start, just because it seems like he's been in training for a while. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he started as soon as he showed up. I don't know that he needs a ton of prep work to do anything. It continues to just be wild that we're starting 2 19-year-olds up top. Like, that is always going to be crazy to me, that there will be, when you look back on the retrospective of this season, whatever ends up happening, you're going to have to include the part where, yeah, we were playing 2 guys that weren't old enough to drink as our starting striker pair.
I mean, there's a strong argument for
goals.
There's a strong argument for them having both won the starting job here over whoever. I mean,
It wasn't. It was a okay game from Dotto. He had, I think, at least one chance that I thought was really, really good that he just put like wide by a foot or two on a curler from at the top of the box.
Mm-hmm.
But I would not say it was his best game or the best case that he will put down on film for why he should have significant minutes going forward.
I think Dotto's a pro, but I think his spot in the starting lineup is very up for grabs.
I mean, that is 3 starts in a row for Dotto. This team has scored 8 goals in 3 games.
How many goals for Dotto, though?
I mean,
how many assists for Dotto?
How many goals for Yuya Kubo in this game? Like, come on, we can all play this game.
I think Yuya would have cooked. Yuya would have cooked in this game. He would have cooked in this game. Their midfield playing the way it was, Yuya would have absolutely cooked this game.
Yep.
I think Dotto offers a speed and versatility. He is, in my mind...
I'm not saying Dotto sucks. I'm not saying he sucks. He's a good player.
I'm not saying you guys are wanting to cut Dotto.
Let's talk about Dotto when we talk about the inverted wingbacks.
That's a good point. Before we get there, though, we do have to talk about an initial goal. The 25th minute by Toronto in this one is a tough one.
Let's talk about Dotto here, too.
Yeah.
Sure. Please.
It's on a set piece where, okay. Yeah. So if there is one takeaway that's like a little bit of cold water on where FC Cincinnati is at right now, this team currently is horrendous on set pieces and set piece defense. Horrendous may be rough on the defense part, but like, we'll put it this way. If you're like charting it as a plus minus, like our set pieces and our set piece defending versus their set pieces and their set piece defending, the entire concept of set pieces is a vast net negative for FC Cincinnati right now.
Yeah.
Both of Toronto's first 2 goals come almost direct. This one comes directly off a set piece. Their next goal comes after a few passes from a short corner. And you combine that with the fact that, like, we didn't have a single threatening ball, much less chance on any set piece that we took. That needs to improve. And I think it starts by not involving Lucho Acosta in taking set pieces.
Yeah, or his height in defending them. Not that this is on him.
Well, it is on Dotto, because Dotto was marking or attempting to mark the man who takes the header.
Yeah,
and I don't want to pile on Dotto in this instance. It's a very good ball. I know we don't know what those look like in Cincinnati because we rarely see very good deliveries.
Yeah,
and the Flores, I think, is the guy that scores it, and he is moving away from goal, so he is sort of. It's the functional equivalent of a fadeaway shot in basketball. And if you can hit a fadeaway, there's no defense that's going to stop that from happening. And short of a taller player being on him and getting to the ball over him, it was just a really, really good move by him to create separation and somehow create enough power to put it in the one spot that Roman can't get to.
Yeah, like Dotto could be more physical there, I think. But I still think, even though, like, I think Dotto could probably do a little bit better there. I still think it's a very fluky goal.
It's very fluky because of like what Chief said, like the Flores is it Flores? I'm going to say Flores and hope it offends a Toronto fan. He's like going away from the goal, and it's just, I mean, if he meant to do it as how he did it, it's an incredible finish. Right. Yeah. If he can do that regularly, just getting his head on it, like, it's an incredibly lucky finish. Yeah. I even if Dotto's a foot taller, I think it's still a goal. Like, I think Dotto needs to be 2 or 3 feet taller for him to be physically in the way. I think he can make it a little harder on him. Yeah. Just like a little, I think he can just be up in his business a little bit more. Yeah. So that is too far away.
Has this as a 0.02 XG.
That sounds right.
On this take.
Yeah, we're killing Roman's like goals minus expected goals
right.
stat this match.
The low XGs getting in doesn't help Roman's advanced metrics there.
Negative.
Roman does about as good of a job as you can on a goal.
I don't think he can do anything about it. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a crazy bounce.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
But I do want to, like, the idea of physicality. So early on in this game, Toronto was really setting a tone with physical play.
Yes.
And for the first 25, 30 minutes of this game, I don't think FCC was prepared for how physical this game was going to be. And also from how much the officials were willing to let go in this game in terms of physicality. Kevin Kelsey got outright tackled, like rugby football style tackled, multiple times in the first 25 minutes of this match with no call. And it was everywhere. The Toronto was simply, they were playing a little bit of bully ball, especially with their high press.
Yeah.
And there were multiple instances where FC players were looking for fouls, not getting them. And so I think that it took, and this was another example of that too, where you want Dotto in this case to read the room a little bit on the physicality and at least try to establish his position. I get you're in the box and you're always worried about committing a foul, but those never get called on headers into the box. Like if you're muscling a guy and fighting for position, it's two people one-on-one fighting for the ball, rarely gets called. You've got to be able to,
like, if Brandon Vasquez is in that position, for example, right? Like, he knows how to physically jostle with the defender there.
Yeah.
And like throw him off and not draw a penalty.
I think Kubo is the same way. I think that's another difference where just a more veteran savvy player probably defends that better. I don't think we were prepared for the physicality in this game. And it took them 35 to 40 minutes to grow into the idea that they're trying to punch you in the mouth and you've got to fight back a little bit and just accept the fact that it's going to be a scrum and you've got to match them in that physicality.
I mean, you should have been prepared. Like, Herdman, as coach of Canada, played dirty. Like, he was like, Canada was a dirty team.
Which kind of respect for one of the smaller footballing nations.
No,
I
respect.
You got to do something if you can't talent.
I respect a team that comes out and just says, we are going to be hard to play.
Yeah.
Like, I respect that. It is the ref's job to, like, push back on it. But, like, also as the better team,
you got to expect it.
You got to stand up, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I think ultimately they did. Like, you talk about Kelsey getting tackled. Yeah, like, Kelsey got hit a few times, but Kelsey was extremely effective at using his size and frame at, like, keeping the ball and winning space and finding an outlet. Like, Kelsey had a great game.
He did. Yeah. And it's really funny. If you watch the replay of this game back, I would pay real money for a camera just focused on Kevin Kelsey because he had a full side quest that he was doing while the game was going on, battling with their center backs. And there were multiple times this game where it's just sort of happening out of frame or at the edge of the frame where the ball has moved on and you've got to make a conscious effort to look back at what's going on. Multiple times where Kelsey just two hands shoves someone, just like, fuck you, get out of my way. I'm so sick of your bullshit.
Yeah. Look, you're not going to out dark arts a Venezuelan striker, okay? Like,
the man, a Venezuelan that went willingly to Ukraine. Like, this guy is built different, okay? You're only going to be able to get away with shit for a few minutes on this guy.
I will say, like, Kelsey was, you know, you got two 19-year-olds, right? Like, Dotto maybe wasn't as physical on that goal as you would have liked. Whatever. I'm not going to sweat it. Kelsey, that's a man.
Yeah.
Like that. Like Kelsey is he's a grown ass man.
He is a grown ass man in a jersey one size too big. It's
of his own choosing.
Of his own choice. You know what? I'm not going to jersey shame the man. I'm not going to kid shame the man. But it's unsettling when you see him walking around in that.
The reporting on his jersey size later felt a little defensive. I think This is probably reading too much into it, but defensive towards us saying, hey, his jersey fits exactly the way he wants it, boys.
He loves early 2000s fashion, and he's determined to bring it all back. It's okay.
Hey, as long as he brings back the giant basketball shorts while he's playing, I'm all for it.
They're missing an opportunity with Kevin Kelsey, that they should have Kevin Kelsey jerseys for sale, but the sizing should start at 2XL. And just label, so like no matter what size you buy the Kevin Kelsey fit.
Oh, that would be interesting. It'd be fun to do that with every player. Like if you bought Barrio number shorts, it would have been about 3 inches of fabric coming off the waistband.
Just the thighs popping out. The Alvaro Barrial shorts with the Kevin Kelsey shirt.
That's the look.
It would just look like
it
would look like you're not wearing pants.
Right.
That's like how every 20-year-old woman dresses right now.
I blame Billie Eilish, I think.
Everybody who every woman in downtown Manhattan in her early 20s.
It's also how
wears the Kevin Kelsey fit.
It's also the universal sign in film that the character's just hooked up. When you see the female lead walking someplace and it's just the oversized T-shirt.
Yes, that's the nod or the wink to the audience.
Like, hey guys, congrats.
Well, it's after Toronto's goal that some changes are made. The big one being Orishano and Halsey switching sides. This is fun. We have seen Orishano switch over to the right side a couple of times, usually late in games, but this was a deliberate tactical choice to shake things up against Toronto. And Grayson, as you pointed out, it did appear that Dado and Kelsey had switched it up, or it certainly were allowed more interplay between each other positionally. But the Orishano Halsey one, I think, is super interesting, especially on the heels of the conversation we had with Carter, which is that Halsey was much more of a left-sided fullback when he came and he wanted to play on that side. Orishano was a right.
I think Carter specifically said that Halsey is more comfortable attacking on the left side.
More comfortable attacking on the left side, which is perfect because Orishano was a right winger previously in Argentina before coming here. So they're both.
And he must love this podcast.
This is the most pro-junta podcast you'll listen to.
This is the most right-wing FC Cincinnati podcast.
It's our official right-wing discussion. None. We're accused of talking too much right-wing.
Yeah.
It did say God bless Richard Nixon before, so we're not beating all of the charges. But no, these two switching to their sort of preferred attacking sides, I think is super interesting. And I think people should take note of that when I think some of the inevitable defense criticisms come up, which is, in my mind, these guys were not asked to defend at this point going forward.
If that was what they were being asked, mission accomplished.
Job well done.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later.
Yes,
but
please.
I do want to point out that so we've talked about Orishano historically playing on a right wing position as an inverted right winger, right?
Yeah,
which means essentially somebody who plays on the right and is left foot dominant.
Yes.
And what that means is that when they're attacking, they tend more centrally versus playing wide. Yeah. At a very dumb level. Right.
They're looking to cut in and shoot versus, trying to cross the ball in.
Yeah. And so playing with inverted wingbacks, which is actually what Toronto started the game with. And yes. Toronto has played inverted wingbacks. I think they played inverted wingbacks in game 1 against us.
Yes.
And have played inverted wingbacks most of the year. And what that one of the things that leads to is you can get like numbers centrally because you got the players cutting in, and we do see this play out in the game. But I think it's an interesting decision that Toronto went away after we switched Orishano and Halsey. Toronto also switched their wingbacks. So Toronto went away from inverted wingbacks to like traditional wingbacks, which meant that like so to start the game, we had Orishano, a left-footed player, squaring off with what's his name, Spicer, who's also a left-footed player. And so like Orishano would have been trending like wide, and then Spicer would have been trending in.
Yep.
Can we say flowing since it's spice?
Sure.
All right.
The spice must flow.
Inward.
So then after I questioned the decision by Toronto's coach, Herdman, to switch them, because we go to Orishano as an inverted right wing back, who then is going to want to play in, and they move over Spicer, who's now no longer inverted and he's playing wide.
Yeah.
Right. So Orishano is going in at Spicer's weak side.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm very stupid, but
Same.
I was wondering if that was the right move watching the game. And I don't know, I don't know how much Herdman also switching the wingbacks like factored into it.
Yeah.
Versus like, I think more it's like us switching the wingbacks, thinking like we're going to have more of the ball. It's going to be more advantageous to like get more guys going central.
Yeah.
To try to get numbers centrally. I think that probably was what was more influential at the moment, but I do wonder like if Herdman was too reactive.
I also wonder if
with switching with like following with the switch.
Yeah, it almost felt like when you would see back in the day, it's like, okay, this cornerback is matched up on this receiver and is just going to follow him around the field.
That's exactly it.
And so I do wonder if the plan from Toronto is that, look, like we have positional matchups defensively, and we are not going to switch our defensive matchups and our defensive assignments. Your job is to follow Orishano wherever he goes in the field. And if he goes there, then you're switching places with the other guy who's going to go to Halsey. Not so much because, we definitely need to have our guy on Halsey, but that we have Orishano locked down in this formation here. The other interesting thing about inverting the wingbacks from FC Cincinnati's point of view is that it allows Orishano to cut in from the right side.
Right.
And Lucho likes to play down the left-hand side. So by having Orishano on the right-hand side, you lose the interplay between Lucho and Orishano, but it also makes Orishano available on the centering pass from Lucho when Lucho does his play with Halsey down the left-hand side.
Which is exactly what you see with the first goal.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's funny, too. It's like, okay, what other lessons are we learning about FC Cincinnati? This is the first time really in the Pat Noonan era that I remember them making a wholesale, like mid-game, we're making a tactical adjustment and we're altering our shape, we're altering our formation on the fly to this degree. And it's interesting in that, number one, it pays off because the results are fantastic in terms of what it frees them to do. But what I also like about this, too, is it's okay. Here's another thing you need to worry about when you're scouting the FC is that, all right, you can think the team's going to play this way, but we have the ability to do this instead. Now, I think it's interesting, too. This is something that's available to them when they're playing Halsey. I don't know that they make this move if Yedlin's on the field.
I don't think so. And you see, and I think we're a little ahead of ourselves, but like you see, like when Yedlin comes on, they move Orishano back over to the left.
Yeah.
Which I'm like fine with. And I think it's just it's a wrinkle, right?
Yeah.
Like where, like with Halsey on the field, you have the freedom to do this. Maybe with other players on the field, you have the freedom to do this. Yedlin is very comfortable on the right, and he's very dangerous on the right. He's very good on the right. You know, and having tactical flexibility, I think, is positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chief, I think he hit the nail on the head there with the lineup and with the wide receiver analogy, because it did feel like there was some man marking going on here. And I think particularly of putting Longstaff on Lucho. There was certainly not, 1-to-1. What was his name? At San Jose for a while, the Mexican coach that did man marking all over the field.
Was that Matias Almeida?
Almeida. I wanted to say Almada. No, Almeida. Yeah,
I think he was Argentinian.
He had a lot of success in Mexico, and I shot from the hip.
Yeah.
But it did feel like Longstaff was put on Acosta. You saw him harassing him all night, and then when they switched over, it did really feel exactly that these guys had trained all week or whatever for their matchups to lock down. Hey, if we can shut down Acosta and focus in on shutting down their wingbacks, they'll have to beat us with two unproven 19-year-olds up top. And it didn't quite work. I mean, it almost worked, but it didn't quite work here for them. The first goal, though, I do think is a perfect example of exactly what you said, Chief, of Kelsey being a man and Dado being, let's say, a hint more green, didn't spend as much time in a country under siege by a world superpower. It starts off with Kevin Kelsey losing the ball and a pass from Obi, but doesn't fall over, just gets beat, and Kelsey sticks with it and wins the ball back to Lucho, who passes the ball immediately to Dado at the top of the box, who just gets taken out completely.
Like depleted.
Yeah. Which should have been a card.
Yes, after the fact.
Even after the goal, should have been a card.
So folks aren't familiar, just real quick, advantage, you can give cards later. That is totally fine.
You wouldn't know it by watching how Rivas was officiating this match. Okay. Under no circumstances do you got to hand it to ISIS. I understand that. But you got to hand it to Rivas here.
Good advantage play.
Like, good advantage play. And later on, he plays advantage on a PK. I've never seen that happen before, but it happened.
Uncle kind of did it last year, but
Uncle
2 years before?
2 years ago, but like in a bad way? I don't remember.
Yeah, in like a bad way. Yeah, because Brenner scored and he pulled the goal back and gave a penalty.
Yes, he played advantage, and I guess we didn't score quick enough for him. And the second he blew the whistle,
right, he did not have Brenner as an anytime goal scorer. So.
Yeah,
right. But after Dado is decleated, the ball sort of tumbles into the path of Luca Orishano, who, I mean, people were asking before this game, have we had many goals outside of the box? This isn't outside of the box, but this is just a hair inside. One of the longer range efforts we've had on the season, and just beats Sean Johnson with a bad angle on the ball. And it's awesome. Like we are back in this. Unfortunately, it took us into the second half to see this moment.
But that happens because you have Orishano on the right.
Yes.
And so he comes in and he's an extra body in the box to receive the ball when Dado gets cleaned out.
Yeah. And where he's positioned, he's going back across, which is great. So it's
a lot easier to get the ball onto he's left-footed?
He's left-footed. So it's like he's coming onto the ball. He's got his strong foot at the right angle.
Hell of a shot, too. Like that's a recurring theme in this game is that they took some really, really good shots in this game.
If he's a right-footed player, it becomes like a very awkward angle on that ball.
Yeah.
And you're also waiting for the ball to come back across your body before you can shoot. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe my favorite part of this goal is the celebration which is...
Oh, he has one of the worst knee slides of all time.
Well, the knee slide is terrible.
It's
No,
terrible.
knee
It's
slide.
awful knee slide. You know, I blame the person, whoever was watering the field for
that's
that
a
one.
field issue.
That's a dry field. Canada, more liters of water on the field, Canada. Come on.
Yeah, come on.
I know you're having wildfires. Maybe your water is
Right.
at a
God,
premium. But
God knows you're not freezing it for the ice for the Maple Leafs this year, so let's get on this here.
No, I was more specifically speaking of the heart hands that one Orishano puts up. He puts up the classic heart hands as depicted in the emoji, but then immediately takes his one hand down to show half a heart. I don't
it's
know
also a
what
C. It's also a C for Cincy.
Ooh.
Or is that it? I thought that was for his dad, is what I thought.
Maybe.
So this is his first goal.
It's like a broken heart.
That's like
It's
only
not, it's
half
not
a
his
heart.
first goal.
Isn't it?
No.
No.
He scored against New England.
I don't know. Somebody get our intern to look this up.
It's impossible to know this.
If only we all carried a device in our pocket that could answer this question. He has 2 goals in the season. These are the 2 goals of the season so far. That was his first goal.
That was his first goal. So Grayson's
that's his
a liar.
Yes, I'm
First goal since losing his dad. I thought it was
no,
really,
he has
really
3
touching.
goals on the season.
Well, Font Mob has lied to me.
Where are you seeing? Where are you seeing 2?
He scored 2
He
goals.
scored against Atlanta.
I don't watch the games.
He scored on 420, so he was Aura. Oh no!
Oh, that explains why I don't remember it then. All right, well, fuck my explanation. He's just making the C then. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Did he break up with somebody? I don't know what the broken heart is. I chose to interpret
It's a C
it
for Cincy.
as a Matt Miazga, Victor Rivas commentary. That's what I was choosing.
Is it like the skit in what was it? Not Chappelle's show, the show that ripped Chappelle's show off. Key and Peele, where it's how many thrusts of the hips can you do before they throw the flag?
Right.
That you can put half the heart up, but like if you put the full heart up, you're getting the card from Rivas.
Right. It was too soon for the first goal to go full heart hands. It would have been a bit much. So yeah, that was awesome. And then it did not take long. I do not blink. FC Cincinnati.
We do this a lot, right? Like an abnormal amount of. No, I like it, but like we like to go back to back.
The FCC stats guy, whose tweet I will not be able to pull up in a timely manner, did have a stat about this, that this was the 3rd or 4th time that we've scored 2 goals within like 3 minutes or 4 minutes. Regular occurrence for old FC Cincinnati. But this is again Kevin Kelsey fighting for the ball. No, it's Dado, excuse me. Fighting for the ball. Lucho Orishano just off to the races, a spilled ball and a poor pass backwards for Toronto. Luca chases it down, successfully wins the ball. Honestly, so happy Rivas did not call a foul here. I don't think it would have been a foul, but Toronto's player does get thrown to the ground pretty aggressively. I wouldn't have been shocked if he called it. Luca's shot is blocked by Sean Johnson, but directly into the path of Kevin Kelsey, showing maturity beyond his years to move the ball over to his left foot, take a deep breath, and fire a rocket into the back of the net. It's just an awesome goal. Yeah, I don't know. This is like, it didn't play out exactly as you draw it up, but it's like Kelsey's winning the ball off of a Matt Miazga long ball. It does eventually go to Toronto, who plays the pass poorly, but it's, it's a little movement, little moment we haven't seen too often. I don't know. What else about this goal is there to talk about? This was awesome.
Orishano showing some speed.
Yeah.
That we haven't always had from the left wing back position.
Yeah.
And then Kelsey, like, Jesus, what a finish.
Yeah, it's so good.
Like you think this guy can only score with his head or like being taller. Like, no.
Mm-mm.
He's so calm, and he puts the ball in no man's land.
What I really liked about this a lot was he does not have a striker's touch. when it comes to he plays this ball. He doesn't panic. He knows exactly how much time he has on the ball, gets himself situated, waits for Johnson to come back in the play and commit himself, and then just blasts a shot. And
he goal kicks it.
Oh, yes. Like he was showing off the same leg that he put the ball into the scoreboard with the last time he was at TQL Stadium. And Jerry Lance brought this up on Twitter, and I thought this was on the Bird app, and I thought this was pointed. How many times do you see a player get that opportunity from that position and just boot the ball 3-4 rows deep into the stands because it's so unexpected. The ball fell to my feet. I have this great goal scoring opportunity. I'm so excited, and I hit the button way too hard. Like, that was cool that he just calm as you'd like, just hit a laser blast from the back of the net.
Yeah, the I know it, like, you look at it and it's like, okay, he's got like a clear goal or whatever. But the time that he takes and the awareness of like where everybody is in the box that he shows to like very calmly bring the ball to his left foot. This is a guy who sees the game.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm excited.
Like,
this is exciting shit.
Let's go. Like, I'm very excited to see. I am ready to pull the trigger on his $7 million option yesterday. It's not my money.
No, but buy it now if we were on eBay right now. So I'm prone to the overreaction. I understand that. It happens from time to time. I'm not only ready to buy now in Kevin Kelsey, I'm not ready to hit the panic button on this yet, but like I've lifted the cover on the button that protects it from being hit accidentally. I am wondering if this doesn't become a situation where we trigger the buy option and then immediately have to sell him in the winter window back to Europe to a bigger club.
That's next year's problem.
I know. But the man is, I don't want to say cool it, but like, you're playing yourself out of MLS real quick when you have the ability to not only, score the goals with your head, hold up play, and also are good with the ball at your feet. Those kind of players don't last long in this league, especially when they're 19 years old. If
he plays himself into a big transfer this season, good things are happening for this team.
Yeah.
Like, real nice things are happening for this team. So I'll take it, and then we'll figure it out next year.
We'll figure it out, and we will hang the biggest jersey you can imagine in the rafters with his number on it.
Yeah. Like, look, Albright like replaced 6 starters essentially, and the team is looking real nice.
Yeah.
If Kelsey comes in and they exercise this seems unlikely, right? But like, if they exercise the $7 million buy option and then immediately sell him for $15 or $20 million, well, that's an open U22 spot, and it's like a free $8 to $15 million to spend.
Yeah,
like,
and with that $8 to $15 million, go buy a club in Europe and start player laundering.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yeah, I don't know the details of loan agreements and how this work. I'd really hate for like Shakhtar to like see this happening, recall him to then sell him somewhere else for more than $7 million. I'd like to think that we have some degree of dibs here, even though dibs doesn't always exist outside of MLS. But
I feel like the entire point of the $7 million option
was to be so ridiculous as to not exercise it.
Right. Was to give Shakhtar like security.
Yeah.
But us to have control, at least like through the end of the loan.
Yeah. And it did feel like something that would be negotiated. Like,
yeah. Because like, the reporting was that we offered like up to like potentially
2 or 3. Yeah.
For a permanent transfer. and didn't get it. So like I would be surprised if we agreed to like a $7 million buy option and there was still like the ability for Shakhtar to just like take him from us and then sell him for more money. Like
should have
like
offered,
we took on a lot of risk.
4 or 5.
Like we took on a lot of risk to bring him in.
Sure doesn't feel like we did.
It does. You're right. It does not, because he looks.
I feel like a lot of risk we took.
He's looking like the best U22 like of all time.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up because the comparable here in the league, and granted, we are early days, very early days. But if you were looking for a comp, John Duran from with Chicago Fire, he made, according to Wikipedia, which could be wrong, 27 appearances and scored 8 goals for Chicago Fire before seeing a $15 million move to Aston Villa, and is now currently being rumored to head to one of the big 6 clubs.
Yeah. Chelsea is what I've been seeing. So
there you go. So like, he only scored 8. I don't know how many more goals a 19-year-old of Kelsey's size and pedigree needs to go before $10-15 million isn't out of the question. But if 8 got $15 million before, it's not far off.
He was in his year 19 season when he went to Chicago. Yeah.
Now, he was there for 2 years and did spend some time with Chicago too. But
he was there for a year.
22.
They brought him in Jan 22 and sold him in Jan 23.
Oh, okay. I was, again, Wikipedia is just giving me whole years, not months.
Using Google AI, I think.
Yeah. Transfer Market says he went out so Transfer Market says Chicago bought him at 1.7 million euros and sold him for 16.64 million euros.
Okay.
I'm sure they have a sell on that too, I would imagine.
I'm sure they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chicago's going to enjoy that.
And squander all of it, surely.
Yeah, kiss it all away. Yeah, no doubt.
So, yeah, Kevin Kelsey. Sweet investment. This is fun. Exciting to think that there is a rules package, which, again, has yet to be passed. This is not real yet, but could potentially give this team 2 more U22 spots to play with. And again, like, you'd like to dream of 2 more Kevin Kelsey-esque players on this team.
He's must start going forward, right?
Yeah, as long as he's healthy, it's his spot.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a tactical change-up where you decide
and then
Santos and Dado is the move,
which is what I thought. This is the first game he went full 90.
Full 90, yeah.
Yeah.
Which
is a milestone.
Yeah, because we were wondering what his fitness level was or how long it was going to take him to get into match fitness, considering. And again, this is bananas. He hadn't played a full match in 8 months, 6 months.
I do think he got fatigued, and I also think that they just didn't have like any option. Like the bench was like pretty thin.
Only 3 subs were used, which is interesting.
Yeah, but they didn't have they used the only striker sub they had.
Yeah.
And the way the game was going, he didn't want to take any offense off the field.
True.
You want to see what Kip Keller looked like up top? Come on now. That'd be fun.
All right. So then Kelsey scores, and what happens next?
Then nothing else happens, right?
That was it. I mean, there was Ian Murphy own goal, which is so incredibly rude to call this anything about Ian Murphy. Insigne is just doing crazy DP things. Like, this is why we created the MLS clean sheet, idea.
This wasn't no MLS clean sheet.
It was not an MLS clean sheet. I'm just saying the idea is born of moments like this, where the other team is inevitably going to have some $20 million player for some reason on their roster that is going to be capable of an individual moment of brilliance. And yes, it's a set piece, but it is very quickly then not a set piece with the short corner. It pings around a little bit, but it's Insigne taking the corner, a couple of give and goes. It drives at the near post and passes it, honestly, to nobody. Like, this is genuinely him hoping for the best. If this does not ricochet off of Ian Murphy, Roman has it, or it dribbles harmlessly through the box and is cleared on the other side. But it bounces off of Murphy's right leg and into the goal, beating Celentano, who, granted, is not expecting a shot, quote unquote, from from Miles Robinson here. Or no, Ian Murphy. Jeez, Pete. So there you go.
I was watching this and I was like complaining. I was like, oh, the defense is like not showing up today and blah 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 blah. And like my wife was watching the replay and she's like, oh, he looks really good. I'm like, yeah, that's basically true. Is Toronto played a really nice? It's a really nice sequence from Toronto there.
No, the problem
you could complain, like Kevin, you can complain about like, oh, like Ian Murphy's there or whatever, but Ian Murphy's like covering a player.
If Ian Murphy's not there, it's a sure goal. It's useless. Right?
Because if Ian Murphy's not there, there's somebody unmarked. It's like that's a problem too.
Yeah,
it's just the thing about Toronto is that whenever you play them, you're just you're at the mercy of whether or not the Italians decide they want to care at like any given moment.
Yeah, and there cared this game.
Yeah, he gave a big time shit about this game. He
cared hard.
But like, there's other times you play Toronto, and I mean, if we played them a third time later in the year, there's every chance that the two Italians would have turned on the manager and the entire team will have quit. Like, that's the fun thing about Toronto is it's like, oh, they're in their ascendancy until Bernardeschi and Insigne are just like, we're done here. We hate this guy. We're going to selectively try for the remainder of the season, and they go into free fall.
Insigne also almost scored the goal of the season.
Yes.
Yes.
Which would have been so fitting for this to happen in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah. That happens a little bit later on, but yeah, just such a far out shot. Perfect curl.
I was bothered by how much space they were giving him, but also he was so far out.
Insane.
He was also cooking. He was cooking people on dribbles and runs too. I'd back up too.
You have to make a decision, right? I was worried about how much space he had, but also you have to make a choice.
Yeah.
Right? Do I give him space this far from goal, or do I play him close and maybe he cooks me and then he's got to, he gets to run closer.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when we have a talisman, and like so does Toronto. Insigne is a really good player. And it's just kind of fortunate for the East that Toronto has been like a little bit of a mess.
Yeah.
The entire time he's been there.
Last year's Toronto team is very similar to Atlanta's roster this year, which is on paper one of the more talented teams in the league, but just could not get it together. And the manager at the time, Bob Bradley, just could not get anything out of that team. They sure look like they've figured it out now. Herdman must have figured out how to manage star players with the Canadian national team, I guess. And so he's walked right into this, and it appears to have their buy-in at the moment. But this was a wild game. 63 minutes in is when this one happens. It's just like so much already. And honestly, I think a lot of fans, when this happens, are thinking 2-2. All right. We tried. We get the point on the road. Hold on here.
They didn't do that, though. At every point in this game, FC Cincinnati, they were looking to attack. They didn't call the dogs off or like go bunker in and get the result until after they had scored the eventual game-winning goal. But until that point, they were not looking to come out of this game with a point. It was fun to watch, actually, from that standpoint. That I want my team to go for the win every time. Yeah, road points are fine, but they never looked like they were there for 1 point.
Yeah.
No.
And that was, even more true when just a couple of minutes later, the decision was to pull Brett Halsey and to drop in DeAndre Yedlin. Love Halsey. I still think he should be the starter in ink. But it's a pretty good. This is a comment I made last year. I said he should be the first name on the lineup last year. But Yedlin is a bit of a talent upgrade here. So this was
you can write Yedlin. You could write Halsey first and then just like cross him out and then write in Yedlin.
Okay,
Put a Post-it note over it that just says Yedlin and then tape that down.
But on comes DeAndre Yedlin, reversing, as we mentioned before, the wingbacks back to their natural, as in inverted positions here. No, non-inverted positions.
Yeah.
And it pays off.
Extroverted.
Yeah, extroverted wingbacks. Sure.
They life of the party, these two.
Wingbacks are either extroverted or introverted.
What about just verted?
Four verts. That's Madden. That's a different sport. Oh boy. So yeah, things change up when Yedlin comes in, and Sergio Santos, just a couple of minutes later, replaces Dado up top. And yeah, Chief, to your point, this team did not stop pushing and pushing and pushing for a goal. I was really, really happy with how this team was playing. And it was nice. Like, I know this is like oh my gosh, we want the calm, happy, serene, dominant victory. But this was like, all right, this is game on. We're really, really trying for this one. I was excited.
Yeah, there was almost like a moment where the entire team and Pat and him were like, all right, fuck these guys. Like they've somehow it got personal during the course of this, and we were not going to lose this game.
They've shoved us enough here. And it culminates with what could have easily been the Sergio Santos one penalty. But it is Lucho Orishano again with a long-range goal. This play starts with Orishano on the left side. So again, we're talking about switching him back over, playing a 1-2 with Lucho. Passes the ball over to the top of the box where he finds Sergio Santos, who just gets absolutely clobbered. A real kick right in the foot, knocks him right off of his footing. He falls. He does the classic literal dive into the air, although it is well earned. He is actually hit here. The ball falls to Orishano on the outside, who was so onside. No thought there. And he beats Sean Johnson here at an angle that he has no business beating Sean Johnson at. This is a very, very, very far across the box, going across the goal, going to the far post, on the ground, not particularly fast. It's kind of a slow hit.
Hits the post and bounces in.
Pings off the post and in. This is a cool goal.
I'm like we said earlier, it's rare you see advantage played on a clear penalty.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to like hurt Sean Johnson too much on this one, because if he saves that, I'm 90% sure that eventually ends up being awarded as a PK. And the 10% of me that isn't sure is only not sure because of how corrupt PSRA officials are, because that was about as clear a pen as you can possibly have.
Rivas seems ready to call it. And I think if Orishano doesn't score, he calls it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like there's a replay angle that's like from behind the goal. And if Rivas is not about to call this a penalty, I don't know what he's doing. Like, he gives every indication he's about to call a penalty. And I think it is just like how quickly Orishano takes the shot.
Yeah.
Is what. So I think it's a penalty. I think if Orishano doesn't score, we get a penalty out of this.
Yeah, the only person who should be mad is if you had Lucho Acosta anytime goal score, because
yeah,
it could have been him.
Yeah, it's changing in who ends up in the score sheet with this goal. But love it for Luca.
So let me use this goal as the opportunity to talk about Rivas for a moment, which is to say, by my recording, we're about an hour and 20 minutes into this, and no real complaints. You maybe could have asked for more Toronto yellow cards early to like set a tone against the I don't know, aggressive nature that they were going to play, but like pretty good, given everything we were worried about.
I think that, who is it? Torsten or whatever from Rosted from Toronto should have probably been out of the game.
Yeah.
So, but there's like,
yeah,
there's three times in the game where Rivas should have given a yellow and didn't.
Yeah.
And two of them are because we like scored a goal immediately,
which is fun, but
you should still give a yellow.
Yes.
It was on the first Orishano goal and the second Orishano goal.
Yeah. Both of those are yellow card fouls. Yes.
Both those are yellow card fouls. And then the third was when Rosted hits Roman for the second time.
Yeah,
yes.
Second time he's made contact with Roman.
And this is a time where Roman catches the ball and Rosted just throws his fists in, hits Roman in the head, and Roman drops the ball and Toronto scores, but the refs rightfully call a foul. And the ref is running in to give the yellow card.
Card in hand, out of the pocket.
Card is out of the pocket, yes. But then the Toronto player goes down and holds his head. And if you look at the replay,
which I've posted on X, you can see it up there.
His head is not hit.
Nope.
No.
At any moment. He clearly cynically pretends to have a head injury to try to avoid getting a card on the play. You can
see him when he lands. You can see him pause, realize that Roman is on the ground, and then grab his head. It's awful.
It's awful. And the fact that like even if his head had come in and hit Roman in that play, it's still a yellow card.
Yeah. You shouldn't be leading with your head like that.
There's no excuse for that card to go back in the pocket in that moment, even if the Toronto player's head got hit, because the Toronto player was the one who came in late.
And is the one going not up and down.
It's the goalie's position. Yeah. He's coming in late at the keeper. That's a yellow card, regardless of if his head had been hit, but his head wasn't hit.
Yeah.
Like he tricks the ref by pretending his head got hit.
Yeah, which I was going to say is more on Rosted than it is Rivas there, but this is why we have VAR.
But you can give him a yellow card even if his head's hit. Like, yes. I'm sorry. Like in that situation, if you come in with your head in a dangerous way, like we'll make sure your head's okay, but you're still going to get a yellow card.
If you come into somebody studs up and you tear your own ACL on the tackle, you still get a red. They stretcher you off the pitch. You just don't get to put a replacement back on for that player.
Right.
Like it doesn't change. You hurting yourself in the process doesn't absolve you of the crime you committed. That's nonsense.
And then faking the injury, which again is like one of the things that I wouldn't mind VAR for, but is just never used for. Like the second set of referee eyes to catch faking is, a useful tool. But
and I also glad we brought this up too, because this is on MLS. This is 100% on MLS because the rules are specifically written with these new rules on injuries and time wasting. There are ways to exempt you going off for the 2-minute period after being checked on. One is if you are fouled and the card is given as a result of the foul, you don't have to go off for 2 minutes. The other exception is that if it's head injury or your head has been hurt, like you're claiming a head injury, you can go off and come right back on. And that's what this guy did. Yeah. Whatever his name is, Ross did. He fakes a head injury.
Ross.
Pardon?
Sigur Ross.
Sigur Ross. Yeah. He fakes a head injury, goes down, doesn't get a card, jogs for 30 seconds and is back on the field before play even resumes.
They should add that as like a thing you can go back and like look at, is like if you fake a head injury, there should be some type of supplemental discipline you can get.
Yes.
Because like I want to take head injuries seriously. Everybody does. But like you create a special category, players are going to cynically abuse it. And there needs to be a way to like, combat that, because it's a problem.
Yeah. It's the same idea with concussion substitutes and everything like that. Like the second you, create this special exception to get an advantage, should this happen to you,
I want refs to like, give the concussion sub, right?
Right.
But like, if you can go back and look at the tape and be like, this was a clear fake head injury,
right?
You should be able to like suspend the player or fine. Like, honestly, like it's got to be like a suspension of some kind.
Yeah.
Because
teams will just pay fines.
Teams will just pay the fines.
Yeah. You give a 2-match suspension for, making a mockery of the concussion protocol.
Like if a situation like this, right? Like there'll be situations where like maybe you make a meal of it, but your head does get hit. Fine. There's like literally probably no way to police that.
Yeah.
But if we can look at the video and see that you were never hit in the head and you just reached up and held your head and went down like for no reason.
Yeah.
That should be like at least a 1-match suspension, probably 2.
And where the video actually shows you like realizing that you forgot you have to sell your injury and then all of a sudden reaching up. Because I know that when I'm hurt seriously, that I have to take a few minutes to realize that I'm injured before I actually can let anyone see it.
Yeah.
Like a villain in a TV show being shot.
Or like it's Wile E. Coyote time, where like he doesn't realize that he's standing on the sky until he looks down.
Oh, so good. So wild game continues to get wilder. There are 2 more goals to talk about in this one, which is, just crazy. The next one is Toronto's penalty. It is won by, who was that? Oh my gosh. Owusu? Is that how you pronounce it?
Owusu.
And it didn't look like much. I didn't think in the moment.
Miles had him hooked.
But
like he had him hooked by the arm. Like he's trying to get away with at least holding them up long enough for Roman to go get him. I didn't have a problem with that as a pen call. I thought it was.
I didn't have a problem with it, but it's not called enough in my view.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Yeah, no, it's it's frequently not called when it's our guy. And like Lucho has this happen to him just every time he touches the ball, and it's rarely called.
Yeah. Right.
I think it's a penalty, but I don't think they call it every time, and I would like them to.
Yeah. And that leads to Insigne facing off against Roman Celentano for the penalty, which
we're not going to talk about.
We aren't? Because
nope.
You go back and watch it. Roman starts diving to his right a full two steps before Insigne even kicks the ball.
I'm not going to worry about it.
All right, fair. I'm just maybe we don't move one way or the other until
1 second before.
It's not going to worry about it.
Someone reminded me while I was watching this game that like getting mad about PKs is like getting mad at your grandma's house for smelling like old people. It's just you rarely stop them. But God damn it, I'm going to continue to be fired up about it. So somebody is. I'm too dug in now.
Yeah. It was after that.
Roman, there's no way Roman saves that either way. Like, even if he guesses the right direction, there's no chance he's saving that.
Yeah. It was after that Insigne had his, it was in like the 92nd minute, or a little before then, that he had his long range bomb ping off the corner. And that leads us to FC Cincinnati's 4th and final goal, which is a moment of Lucho magic. If you were looking
by the way, at some point in this time, Yamil Assad came in for Luca Orishano.
That is true. That is a real thing that happened here. And that was the 3rd and final sub on that one. And it is Lucho dribbling into the box, taking on 4 defenders. Classic Lucho behavior, who then just chips it very nicely to Yamil Assad, who I will let it be debated whether or not this was an intentional back heel or not.
Here's what I'll say about it.
please.
He didn't boot it.
True.
No.
He kept it close. Did he do exactly what he wanted to do with it? I don't know.
Probably not.
No.
But he kept he controlled the ball
Yes.
and kept it close.
No, this was absolutely how they drew it up. This is the FC version of the hook and lateral. Like this is.
I mean, it's not far off from Yedlin's play against Charlotte.
Yeah, or Lucho, putting the ball off of who was it, Barrial's head or Moreno's head. The self pass. Look, Lucho is playing 6D chess at this point, and so he knows that if he puts that ball right to Assad, that it's going to drop in such a way, and Santos coming in like like warp 10
Yes.
and just immediately boots the ball right into the net, where it looks like a set play that
Yes.
that Santos knows that if he comes in straight away on that the ball's just going to be waiting there on a tee for him. So yeah, I'm going to choose to believe, because it looks really cool, that this was a set play, a designed play that Santos knows that the layoff is on right there.
I mean, Santos running in is that's like a skill smart play.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you think happened before.
Right.
The recognition for Santos to get to that ball and score. That's value. That's value. That's a good play.
It's a good play. And it's also, I want to point out, there's some science behind this too. Everybody remembers from back in high school science class, force equals mass times acceleration. Acceleration numbers for Sergio Santos, off the charts.
Pretty good.
Man was flying right there. And I don't know if you've noticed it lately. Santos is a little yoked up right now. Like if Kevin Kelsey's jersey is a little too baggy, Santos is filling the jersey out nice in terms of my man he's obviously been taking some workout tips from Pavel Buka just based on the way he's looking right there. So we got a player who's gained mass and who is accelerating at a high rate of speed. There was no chance Sean Johnson had to stop this ball. The force that was applied to that to score that goal has to be off the charts.
It was exponential.
Yes.
Exponential of what? Not going to say.
Don't know.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Just know that this was a play drawn up, worked as intended, and it was powered by science. And there was no chance Toronto had to stop it.
Because science rules.
Science rules.
Santos running in behind does sort
we'll call
of...
him Sergio Science from now on, because that man, because he's always been good in theory, but now,
wow.
now in practice, 2 straight games.
Wow.
Kevin, we call him Sergio Stunt Hose. Because he stunts on those.
Stunts on those hoes. Kevin, you've been the #1 Sergio Santos hater on this podcast. Would you like to revise your take?
No. This was a bum-ass play. I'd cut him tomorrow. I'm just kidding. This is cool. I love that he runs in behind Assad because he knows a back heel flick is on the table, right? Like he's not expecting it, but it's on the table.
Also,
it's just funny how Kevin specifically has been very negative on Santos.
And only Kevin.
And only Kevin. And this has been otherwise an extremely pro Sergio Santos podcast.
Sorry to bring the mood down every time he comes up, but he does not deserve to be in this city, let alone on this team.
I don't know why you would be that way against a man that has given nothing but his heart and his energy and his vibes here.
Yeah, he even gave the hard hands when he scored.
Gave the hard hands.
That is true. That was a pretty cool moment. This game was not without its own late drama, though. That is the final score, 4-3, FC Cincinnati wins. But the 96th minute, Insigne again gets a perfect ball running at speed at the center backs, just takes the ball, it takes a nice big bounce over his shoulder, and he cleanly hits the volley. It is such a strong hit. It just blows right past Roman's hands. He gets his hands on it, as far as I can tell. It is such a well-hit shot. It's going into the goal no matter what. But he's definitely offside, and it was a good call by the linesman.
It was such a clean
cheating.
finish. It's such a clean finish.
I don't care. He was cheating.
He was cheating, correct.
If he'd been properly onside, he would have been defended properly, and it wouldn't have even mattered. All this bullshit about it was so close to being a goal. No, it wasn't. It was at no point close to being a goal because he was cheating and was offside.
But we get to admire the quality of the finish because he was cheating.
Yeah, you know what? It's really
we can praise the finish all day because he was 3 feet offside.
Yeah, you know, if Jamar Chase gets a running start,
he was like a full length of his body offside, so maybe 2.5 feet.
Yeah. So like Jamar Chase, it's going to look really pretty if he gets a running start and gets to go behind the defense when the play starts. That doesn't mean anything.
Just an argument for Canadian rules.
Jamar
football.
Chase and Canadian rules would be so good.
It would be so sick.
It was making the rounds on Twitter that during, I think it was World War II, there was a charity game played in England where half the game was played by American rules football and the other half of the game was played by Canadian rules football. And that just needs to happen. Again,
I heard in World War II there was a game played between Allied prisoners of war and German prison guards.
Yeah.
And the game was going pretty well, but actually it turned out that the Allied prisoners of war were using it as a ruse to create a large escape attempt.
At halftime, if I remember correctly.
No, I think at the end of the game.
Well, no, they were going to go at halftime, but then they decided they had to stay and win.
Yeah, that's true.
To stay and win.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Sorry, that was a different podcast. No, guys, let's win the game. Moron.
There's also no reason whatsoever there's no reason for the UFL or whatever they're calling the new XFL to exist. But if it's going to exist, they should absolutely have a championship game between the champion of the UFL and the champion of the CFL, played under CFL rules or whatever the
100%.
the higher seeds rules.
The CFL used to have American franchises like all over the U.S. We should bring it back. That's what I want.
They should have a game between like Ukraine and Russia.
And just let's figure this out.
Just let's figure it out, man.
Could you imagine the home and home? Whoever wins gets
all of it.
He gets all of it.
It's deal.
It's like you're relegated from nation status. See, pro rel does work.
Oh, but yeah, then the Kurds get a nation because they beat the round robin of Turkey, Iran, Iraq, Syria. Anyway, the game ends somewhere around there, and win. It's a cool win.
Yeah. Let's never do it that way again.
I mean, it'd be fun against Nashville, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
A 5-4 game where we win? Come on.
So what is that? 7 wins.
7 wins in a row.
They are now 2 away from tying the MLS record in the shootout era, which is held by Seattle. Non-shootout era, sorry.
Yeah.
That is held by Seattle with 9. That'd be pretty cool.
It would be pretty cool, especially considering this team does own the longest losing streak. So it would be really fun to have both. Just for no other reason.
I'd kind of like somebody else to have the other one.
I mean, sure, but since we have it,
I mean, if San Diego could really do us a solid.
It would be cool to have it for a moment and then lose the bad one.
I feel like that streak's never going away.
So we are currently tied with Sporting Kansas City and LAFC with 7 wins. LAFC did it in 2022. It's not that long ago, but Kansas City did their 7 wins in 2012. Again, this is according to Wikipedia, which could be missing something. It is then Seattle Sounders with 9 back in 2018 as the record. Now, if you include the shootout era, that number does jump up to 15. What the LA Galaxy and DC United did 11. Chicago Fire did 11. LA Galaxy also had 12 back in 1996. I believe those 12 started their season off in 1996. They were a problem that first season. So there you go. That's fun. That's a fun game. And we won't have to play Toronto again.
Ever again.
ever again. They're folding the franchise. That's great. Leagues Cup and playoffs are possible, but
part 2.
Check them off the list. Let's get over to part 2. Let's talk about another team I don't want to play anymore. That is Nashville, and then that'll probably be it. So let's do that. Do you love Cincinnati? Do you love union shops? Do you love companies that opened their first retail location in 2014 on Main Street in the over-the-Rhine neighborhood of North downtown Cincinnati? Well, you're never going to believe this, but I have the perfect place for you. It's Cincy Shirts, baby. Look, come on. It's Cincy Shirts. Let's be real. But did you know they have other things than just FC Cincinnati gear? You know, they have some of the best Reds gear, some of the best Bengals gear. They've got old school Cincinnati TV t-shirts. You need a Cincinnati Zoo t-shirt, an MLS PA licensed gear from the players around MLS. Oh, buddy, you're going to love this. They've got that gear. They've got mainly t-shirts, but there's hoodies and hats and all sorts of weird stuff in there as well. Cincy Shirts is where you gotta go. CincyShirts.com. Link in the description. They are huge fans of us because they decided to sponsor this podcast. And for doing so, they will give you 10% off your next order if you use the promo code ThePostCincy. That is all one word, all caps, Cincy with a Y, just like their name. And that's not even just online, although the online shopping experience is perfect. But they also have locations in Hyde Park, Fort Mitchell, and Loveland. They print on demand at all locations. So if they don't have your size or the design that you want, they can make it for you right then and there. I've done this before. Just ask me. I can prove it to you. It's a real thing. Again, Cincy Shirts, awesome folks. They've got all of the stuff you need when it comes to merch. So check them out. Again, CincyShirts.com, those couple of locations. Tell them we sent you, and they'll knock 10% off of your order. Promo code ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps. Thank you, Cincy Shirts, for sponsoring this episode. All right, we are back. Part 2, the final part on a Memorial Day like today. And we've got Nashville coming to town, a midweek game, but the last game we will see FC Cincinnati play until June 15th. Is this a longer break than the actual offseason was? I am asking. I don't know if many are, but I am certainly asking. It
going to feel that way.
Yeah.
Well, what the break does in a weird way is I'm going to go ahead and say it. It makes this Wednesday a must-win game.
Ooh.
Because I think there's a big difference. Like, if you're going to go into a little bit of a break, I don't want to go into a break on a loss. I want to go into a break on a win. I want to go into a break on an 8-game winning streak. And then if we lose the winning streak before breaking Seattle's record, we can say we would have broken it, but our momentum was killed by the 2 weeks off by the international break. So
that's a good call.
I think this is a must win. I think you got to win. You got to have those vibes over the entire little mini off season that we will be having.
Yeah, it couldn't come at a better time for this team. Baird,
weirdly
Kubo.
though, like, when is the last time you've ever said about a team that's on like a 7-game heater?
Right.
Boy, they really need a couple weeks off.
Granted, I'd love to see how long they could push this, but for pretty key injuries that, in theory, should be cleaned up and ready to go by the time they get back, if not the next week. With Bupenza, Bupenza's a different situation, but he is expected at some point in June, maybe early July. But Powell, Baird, and Kubo are definitely expected to be back by about the time this team comes back. Not to make this podcast about the break, which is happening, but they do have to get through Nashville first. Grayson, vibes going into Nashville? I don't know.
I mean, the vibes have to be high.
Yeah.
I would temper the only reason I would temper them would be like, we've seen some people talk about like the quality of opponent for the next few weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
And like Nashville is currently out of playoff position in the East. But like, we know Nashville has good players.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And the fact of the matter is that like the talent disparity between any two MLS teams is less than you would think. I mean, like the differences are often, like somebody's got a better couple of DPs, or somebody's got a better coach and a better system, or somebody's got a more well-functioning locker room. Like the difference is like in like England, the differences are by and large like how expensive your roster is.
Right.
In MLS, there's a lot more like different kinds of factors for like what separates teams. There's more parity. So like you can go into a game against Nashville and be like, oh, we're first in points per game and Nashville is like 11th in the East or whatever, and think, yeah, at a home game, we should roll them.
Yeah.
And like, we should, honestly. But like, does Nashville have the quality of player to stand up to us and give us a game and even potentially like on their night beat us? Yeah. Like, Hani's a really good player.
Mm-hmm.
Their striker, Sam, whatever,
Surridge
is a good player. They have Walker Zimmerman, a great center back in MLS. Somebody who went to the World Cup with the United States.
Yeah.
A couple years ago over Miles Robinson. And so it wouldn't be like necessarily shocking if Nashville pulled out some kind of result. However, this team needs to go into every game expecting to win.
Yeah.
Is the bottom line. This is you are the best team in Major League Soccer.
Yeah.
And that's the expectation going into every game. And you're going to get every opponent's best game because they know who you are. But it's about you. When you are when you are the star, when you are the top of the league, it's about you. And so going into the game, expect to win.
Yeah. Last year in the league, FC Cincinnati beat this Nashville team twice. However, the last time we saw these two teams face was in the League's Cup in the knockout rounds, and it did not go so nicely. It was one Matt Miazga missed penalty away from somebody else having to miss a penalty and change the result.
Right.
I don't know. This was a team that two teams, I should say, that historically always drew each other. I don't know if you remember that, but like two preseason matches back to back
playoffs in USL.
Yeah. Everything was always a draw with these two teams. I guess the true intrigue here, Chief, is like who starts in this game? Do you expect Yedlin?
I expect a full first team to run out. They'll have 2 weeks to heal up. My interesting question,
so when you say full first team, who are your strikers?
Yeah.
My strikers are Kevin Kelsey and probably Dado Valenzuela again. Because I expect anyone that didn't play or travel for this Toronto game is going to stay unavailable to give them more time to heal. I don't think that they're going to rush Kubo back. I don't think they're going to rush Baird back. I think anyone that is on the mend is going to stay on the mend. So it would not surprise me if we see the same lineup they ran out for this game, just with Yedlin starting in place of Halsey and Halsey starting on the bench. My bit of intrigue on this is that tonight, across the river in Kentucky, FC Cincinnati 2 played a game that did not feature Stefan Chirilla either on the bench.
Sharilla.
Sorry.
Sharilla.
I know you were like
You weren't there.
mysteriously absent for the Carter interview.
Many people.
You were off camera. You were off camera having a great time
elsewhere,
laughing too.
With all my friends that are just out the outside of frame right here.
Yeah.
He was not in the 18, the starting lineup, or in the 18 for this game. I am very curious if he will dress with the ones for this game, given how thin the bench is, and give him a little bit of an attaboy for where he's come from so far.
I mean, is London Agato really getting into this game against Nashville? You're telling me Sharilla hasn't earned a 4-day loan up for this one just to, at a minimum, make numbers, or God forbid something happen. He's actually needed, but like
it's interesting that there was no acknowledgement from any public social media from the team about like why Sharilla wasn't with the 2 team today.
They had a sold out house down there too tonight. Like apparently, like they sold out for free tickets. But I mean,
but yeah, right. you couldn't get a free one.
It was a full
beforehand.
house regardless. Yeah,
yeah.
And
so
yeah,
that struck me immediately that he was out today with no mention of an injury, no mention of a knock. I searched Twitter, even I can't find anyone talking about that there might have been an injury.
Is there anything about Dado being hurt after this game? I didn't think so.
I haven't heard anything.
But if he was at all hurt, I could almost see Sharilla being a requirement, being called up, because we don't have anybody else. Like, he's the next man up, like in that position. So
yeah. Well, Santos.
Well, no, but I mean
Ben Stitz.
Yeah. Well, obviously.
Obviously, you always forget about Ben Stitz.
I think Ben
Don't
Stitz
underestimate
about
Ben
him.
Stitz. I won't.
Sure.
He gave us minutes last year. I'm not gonna speak ill of anybody who gave us minutes in the Supporter Shield campaign.
The other thing too is that,
yeah, he did.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. Or
he was a late game sub against like Red Bulls, I think, and just like committed a foul and wasted some time, and we won.
Man,
yeah.
No,
all those minutes add up. The other thing too is that like Kelsey went a full 90. You know, it would be I think I would want him to start, but it also wouldn't surprise me if he's only available for 45 or 50 in this game. That he's on a little bit of a pitch count just based on where his fitness level is. I don't know, but
yeah,
I'm all here for it if Sharilla makes his FCC at least bench debut in this match. I guess the only reason not to do it is I think they only have a limited number of options to bring him up. I think they have 4 times.
Yeah, so the way it works with these affiliate players is you can loan them up to the first team a maximum of 4 times for 4 days at a time. They can appear on 4 MLS rosters in an unlimited number of non-MLS rosters, but that's really like not very relevant since we don't have Open Cup this year. Like as a practical matter, it's like not relevant because the 4 loan limit applies in all competitions.
Okay.
I see.
You can be on 4 rosters and you can appear in 2 MLS games. So like maybe in Leagues Cup, you bring him up a couple of times and let him appear a couple of times, but those appearances and those loans, not the rosters, but the loans count against the loan limit.
Mm.
So after you've loaned a guy 4 times or he's appeared in 2 MLS games, if you want to bring him back, you have to sign him to a first team contract. And I don't know what's
yeah.
Like I don't know what's going on. But like there was reporting that we like acquired his homegrown rights from Philly, but I don't know if we are able. I don't know. Maybe we can, but like I don't know if we're able to sign him to a first team to a homegrown contract at like this date, or if there's a period of time he needs to technically be in our academy before we can sign him to a homegrown contract.
Right.
It's just like, those those rules are a little impenetrable to me, and like also like when he technically came in the academy, like I don't know what it means that we got his homegrown rights. I don't know.
Right.
So like there may be like practical restraints against like loading him up right now, because then if you run up the limit, you can't bring him if there is like a date you have to wait to hit before he can sign a homegrown deal.
And he's stuck. Yeah.
Then he's stuck, right? You can't bring him up at a time like when maybe you really need him.
I just don't think like there's ever going to be a point where they really need him to play.
Right. Season's gone horrible for relying on him.
So Transfer Market says that he joined the academy in like last September. So like if they did bring him up like this week, say, right? If he doesn't play, you have 3 more loans you can bring him up. And then if you need to, if it's like let's say like he joined in September 23 and it's a 12-month restriction, so you can't sign him to a homegrown contract until September of 2024. Well, I guess maybe that's outside the
roster window.
That's outside the roster window. Yeah, she'd be in trouble.
So that would explain.
Yeah,
the contract,
so maybe there's issues. I would love for somebody who was closer to the situation to explain it. But I do think that there may be like real restrictions on their ability to just like willy-nilly bring him into the first team.
But
it'd be fun though.
But it'd be fun to do it this week.
I think there's enough around this team right now where it makes sense to have a youth academy striker on the bench, and if he's the best one available, why not?
Right. We are thin at striker right now, especially if Kubo and Baird are not available Wednesday.
Yeah. If he does make the bench, game state notwithstanding, you got to get him in, right? Like,
I think so.
Yeah.
Because like,
especially if you're not, especially if he's not in the plans for the rest of the year. He just signed a homegrown deal. You're about to go on a 2-week break. Get him a round of applause from the hometown fans a little bit.
Yeah.
And the way he's been playing, he's liable to score a fucking goal. So
yeah,
that'd be cool.
Bring him in for Leagues Cup, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like do 2 loans during Leagues Cup. Just see what happens.
Yeah. Especially a group stage game where like one group stage game kind of doesn't matter. So that's always fun. And yeah, why not? You know, like cynically looking ahead, if he is this exciting youth prospect and you do want to make some money selling a youth prospect, giving him his first appearance when he's 17 always looks good on the top line report. Oh, made his first appearance at 17. You know, that's always great. So let's predict this game. And Chief, you had been asking us our striker pairing. Does anybody disagree with a Kelsey Dado starting pairing up top on this one?
Hard to. Given what else, as long as Kubo is hurt, I mean, I don't know. I like the role they got Sergio Santos in now. Like, don't fuck with success by trying to make him do something that he's not, there to do. Let him be the guy that comes in late and, as of right now, create magic.
Or Kevin Kelsey and Stefan Schirilla start this game, and who cares? Let's get weird. Yeah, that's going to be your starting strikers. Grayson, how's this game going to end? What's the final score?
I'm going to go 2-0 to the FC.
8-game win streak?
8-game win streak.
I
think they're in a good spot. It's a home game. I think they get one of Kubo or Baird back, and they're cooking. I know they gave up 3 goals this last weekend, but like it's hard to look at those 3 goals and think at least like partially it wasn't fluky.
Yeah. Back-to-back own goals.
Yeah.
Tough look for the best center backs in MLS. Chief, What do you got for us?
I don't know. Like, on paper, this should be a game they should win big. I mean, Nashville, they fired Gary Smith, like a week ago?
2 weeks ago, yeah.
2 weeks ago. So they're on an interim manager. The team's kind of going nowhere. They've drawn their last two by scores of 0-0 and 1-1. I don't know. I'm going to say an infuriating 1-0 win, FC Cincinnati. I don't know. They defend. They're still a Nashville team. They still defend. They still park it in. I think it's going to be tough, but I think we're going to win.
Then in that spirit, I will predict a classic MLS clean sheet, a 3-1 victory for the FC. Hani Mukhtar getting a penalty. Why not?
Yeah, of course.
That feels right. Cool. Well, hey, we'll figure out a time to talk about it Wednesday or later this week. And until then, Chief, tell the fine people how they can celebrate their Memorial Day weekend.
How you can celebrate your Memorial Day weekend. Thank you to all those who gave the ultimate price in defense of this country. We owe a debt of gratitude that can never be repaid. God bless America, and go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. I also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati. And like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to this show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.